Hello there, music lovers, and welcome back to the Woodshed. This week I had a question from a patron that said, Andy, which mandolin do I get? I'm just starting out. What's a great beginner mandolin? I don't like to just kind of jump in. I like to have something nice, but also mandolins can get really expensive. What do I do? Well, sit back, relax, and let's just dive into some options. Roll it. All right, friends out there in the internet world, what I'm holding here is the mandolin that I learned to play on. It's been a very emotional mandolin for me, especially lately, with my granddad passing in February. My granddad, for those that don't know, taught myself and my cousin how to play music. And this is the mandolin that I sat on the front porch at his house and learned how to play. It's a lot of dust on it, a lot of wear on it. And it used to have a little curl that came out there, but Sam Bush, one of my favorite mandolin players, had cut his off so the pick didn't hit it, so I obviously had to have that. And across the top are various musicians that have signed it, and across the back, you know, musicians ranging from Sam, Aubrey Haney, Russ Barenberg, Jerry Douglas, Ronnie McCurry, Mark O'Connor, Butch Baldessari, Mike Compton, Jerry Douglas, I think we mentioned him. I mean, they're all on here. It's all of them. This mandolin, I have no idea what it would retail for. Very cheap would be the answer. My family didn't have a lot of money growing up, and my granddad worked construction, so I can't imagine this being a very expensive mandolin. And you know, it got the job done. Sounds nice. You can play all your fiddle tunes on it. And this is the one that I learned to play on. It's the one I learned how to kind of set intonation and restring and all that kind of stuff. I think it doesn't require great, crazy max level instruments to be a musician. Like, I think you can get it done with cheap instruments. However, as you progress and as you become a better player, you start noticing difficulties and limitations, whether that be tension, intonation up and down the mandolin's neck. This goes for guitar and everything, really. But I wanted to start with this one because it was the cheapest one, and it was my first mandolin. My second mandolin I don't have anymore. It was a Kentucky. It cost about $1,000, and I know that seems like a lot for you guys out there that are used to buying electric guitars, because, you know, boutique level, Lamborghini level custom instruments from Sir or PRS or Anderson, they're $3,000 to $5,000. So $1,000 for a mandolin seems like a lot. That's like an Ibanez AZ or right under, you know, that kind of range. Charvel, EVH, all those kind of companies. Fender, you know, you can get a great Fender for $1,000. But mandolins are expensive. They have more in common when you're like maybe shopping for a violin, and you know, Stradivarius can go for $1 million. So mandolins have more in common with that. Really great vintage Gibson, what they call a Lloyd Loar mandolin. Lloyd Loar was a luthier that worked at Gibson, signed the inside of them. So if you see an old mandolin, 20s, 30s era, and it said Lloyd Loar in the middle, that's considered a Loar. And those can go for six figures, you know, hundreds of thousands. You get a cheap one for $80,000. That can kind of get you in the ballpark, right? So they range all over the place. And when I went to Winfield and played out there, I had a little Kentucky, and that's what I had. And like I said, I think the moral of the story is we didn't have any money growing up. So that's what I had, and that's what I had to get it done with. And, you know, practice is a powerful ally. So you can, you know, make sure you got your frets under your fingers, as they say. And, you know, hopefully you can get what needs to be done. Well, by that I mean, you know, let's just focus in on that for a second. For $1,000, I think that's your sweet spot for a mandolin. To me, if you're starting out, you need to look at $1,000 to $1,500 as an entry-level mandolin. That's what I think. Now, I know a lot of people be like,
oh, Andy, you can get one for $300. Oh, you can get one for $200.
Sure, man, sure. I'm sure you can. I just think if you're going to order blind, or maybe you're not an experienced mandolin player, you don't know what you're looking for, you got to look at that $1,000 range to get started. Intonation up and down the neck. You know, with this mandolin, it's not as true as the other two I'm going to show you. As you can tell, it gets a little sour as you go up. I'm sure you can fiddle with this and get it in, you know, closer. This mandolin hasn't really been touched since my granddad died, and you know, I don't really play it that much. It's just kind of still real emotional to me. As you can tell right here, there's some wear where his hands spend most of the time, which I think is really cool. But I digress a little bit, and to get back on topic, I think for you entry mandolin players, you starting out need to look at about $1,000. You can get things from Eastman's. You can get the Kentucky brand mandolin, and then of course everything in between. I'm going to move on now to the next mandolin I had, and that leads me to my next point. When I was 18, I took out a loan from the bank. Now, most kids take out a loan from the bank and they buy a fancy car. I did not. I bought this Flatbush mandolin. This Flatbush was, I think, around $6,000 or $7,000, maybe $6,000. And what makes this mandolin unique, it's built by a guy in Denmark named Victor Smith. Victor, this little scroll kind of thing right here. I think Dan Tominski's got one of these. Floating around Nashville. This one's got a bit of a thicker neck on it. I just pulled it out of the case. I've not tuned it in at least 3 months. And she's still pretty good. And you can tell the volume is drastically louder than the little Alvarez over there. Great deep-bodied kind of tone. The bracing on the inside is a little different. I want to think this one's got some kind of like X bracing. It's a little different. As you can tell, the tailpiece is a little different. Gorgeous back on it. But I took out a loan to get this mandolin because I needed a pro-level instrument. And I think when you make that jump from I've been playing some mandolin for a while to pro-level instrument, you gotta jump in increments of thousands. That sucks to say. I know that's expensive, but you gotta get on up there into that $4,000 or $5,000 range. Now here, let me say something real quick that's really important. When you look across this back wall and you see over there PRS, a Collings, you know, a wall full of Sirs, and you see behind me a diesel amplifier, Rhodes amplifier, there's a Sir amplifier back there, there's cabinets. Below me there are guitar pedals everywhere. There's Vintage amp over here, there's Lone Star over here. It costs a lot of money, a lot of dough paper, a lot of American dollar papers to build a professional level electric guitar rig. And don't forget that. Don't think that, oh man, I got in my, my PRS for $2,000. I can't believe a mandolin's $6,000. Well, dude, what did you plug that PRS into? A micro cube? You got to have something to plug it into. Even if you're plugging it into your computer and using plugins, you're still $5,000 or $6,000 deep once everything's added up. And we're not talking about all the other accoutrements one can get into. We're talking clons and, compressors and delays. I mean, every time you call up Strymon to order something, there's $600 right there. Now, good gear is expensive. It's a thing. So you can be $6,000 to $8,000 in on your electric guitar rig. The good thing is when you buy a mandolin for $7,000, $6,000 or $7,000, you're done. You need a pick and you need the mandolin, and that's all you got. So there is a bit of a difference. I know there's a big price jump there, but it's an acoustic instrument. There's not anything else needed to get the job done. So that moves me along to my third mandolin I want to show you here. And this one is the Workhorse. This is the one that I play most of the time, most of the videos you see that I'm doing, and this is the one that I tour with. This is a fabulous mandolin made by the fine folks at Collings. Yes, the same Collings that makes the 335 copy that's behind me. They make all kinds of good stuff. They make dreadnoughts, they make little 000 style guitars, they make some Les Paul-ish kind of things, solid bodies, jazz guitars, the whole deal, but they have a delightful line of mandolins. And I've been playing this one for a while. One of the things that I've got on the back is a cage that prevents my body from touching it. And I just put that on whatever mandolin I'm playing. There's nothing special about this other than it just keeps your body and your belly off of the back of the mandolin. I got this from Banjo Ben's website. Banjo Ben's a good guy. Make sure to, if you're looking for one of these, you can order one. It'll be delivered in no time. And then that's it. I have a Groove Gear fret wrap up here. Not because I like to tap and play eruption on the mandolin, but because I don't want to hear any overtones. Like I said, this is my Workhorse Mandolin. I use this in sessions. I just used it in a session this week. One of the things I like to have is to not have any overtones ringing out. And you can tell this one has a little bit more upper mid-range cut than the Flatbush. The Flatbush is a little bassier. If I was going to go to a bluegrass jam and we were going to do a traditional kind of around the microphone thing, I might take the Flatbush. Also, the Flatbush doesn't really tour with me because Victor's in Denmark, and if anything were to happen to it, I'm just kind of hosed, right? Like if something happens to that mandolin, I just can't get another one. Now, I'm not saying I want anything to happen to this one, but I do know the fine folks at Collings, and if this got damaged anyway, I can get it back to them, and it's in the United States. You know, they're in Texas, so I can get some things handled should something go south with the mandolin. Now, this mandolin's got a little bit more upper mid-range, a little more cut on it, and it's great for plugging in. I've got the pickup mounted in a nice little convenient spot. And yeah, it sounds really good. It's what I used in the intro. So you can get around on it. The intonation's really true. That's another good thing I love about this Collings is the intonation is really nice. It's a workhorse. This mandolin right here has a couple of doodads and features that I don't think are required in a great mandolin. One, crazy flame top back. Like this is, I say flame top. I'm used to saying flame top like on guitar. Flamed back, right? Flamed neck. Just beautiful. I don't think it's required to have that kind of level of flame. Another thing is some of this fancy inlay down at the headstock. Let me hold that up for you. I don't think that's required. I think that could save you some money. It's like when you order a brand new sports car, you don't have to go crazy with the carbon fiber dash and all that stuff. The car will still run good without it, but it looks nice. So, Collings also has a economy line, and I'm using that term very lightly, outside of the Collings line. If you go to their website, it will link you up, and they've got a line of instruments that is what I consider more for the guy jumping into the game who maybe plays another instrument, right? Like if you've never played anything ever, a Kentucky is a great place to start, right? But if you've played music for a while and you want to jump in, go to the Collings website and check out their lower end economy line kind of mandolins. I would equate it to this. You know how you could go to Porsche again with the car reference. You go to Porsche, you can get the maxed out GT3, whatever. You can also get the Cayman, which is the smaller entry level Porsche. It gets you into the game, still mid-engine, got the same kind of deal, just not as expensive as the big $200,000-$300,000 Porsches. That's the way Collings has that entry line. So go to Collings' website if you're interested. That's a high recommendation from me. Okay, last little bits and tips on buying a mandolin. Take someone with you who knows how to play the mandolin. If you don't know how to play mandolin, you need somebody that knows how to play mandolin. If you can't find that, you're going to have to at least try to take some sort of YouTube beginner mandolin 101 and know one or two chords. Get online and know a couple of chords to where you can strum it and you can at least feel the pressure. That doesn't require crazy level of memorization. That doesn't even require anything other than about 10 minutes. You can take 10 minutes, open up your phone, right? How to make a G chord, and then strum that out on every mandolin on the wall. I highly recommend some sort of facility. Even basic facility will help you. Now, if you've played some guitar, I don't need to talk to you because you know how to shop for instruments, right? You've done it. You've probably spent a ton of money. Okay, next thing up on the mandolin recommendations, if you can get into it, Gibson is the standard. That is the gold star The watermark, the Gibson F5, is the standard. They make a ton of different variations. You could get in $20,000 in a heartbeat. You can also get an F5 for a couple of grand, right? They are the standard. Let anybody say what they want, that's the standard. There's some great other manufacturers and luthiers, like a lot of mandolins are made by personal luthiers. Right here in East Tennessee, there's Len Dudenbosel. Now he's got a monstrous waiting time. I think he's backed up for a couple of years. But if you want to get into the game and get that Lamborghini of mandolin, Len Dudenbosel is one of your guys. You know, Weber makes a good one. Dudenbosel makes a good one. There's so many great mandolins. Monte-Leon, if you could find a Monte-Leon, some of those are pretty awesome. Really, mandolins are so unique. They've got more in common with like violins in that you can have 10 Collings mandolins lined up, and they're all the same model, and they all sound extremely different. It's an interesting instrument in that there's so much tension on it, and it's so small that so much character comes through, and that's what I love about the mandolin. So much different personality comes through on the instrument. So I wish you luck in your searches on the mandolin. I hope this video was helpful. If you enjoy the content, please go over to patreon.com. I've got a ton of lessons, hundreds of video lessons over there. We also do a weekly live masterclass. It's Q&A, it's all the good stuff. I upload tabs and different ideas that I'm working on. I also give sneak peeks of new records and things like that. That's patreon.com/AndyWoodMusic. Now, if you're looking to buy TrueFire classes, or you're looking to buy bundles with tones and transcriptions and backing tracks and all that kind of good stuff, or maybe you want to check out the tour schedule and see where I'm playing, go over to AndyWoodMusic.com, sign up for that email list. I'll get in touch with you, let you know when good stuff's coming out, whether that be new tour announcements, merch, various musical projects and things like that. Of course, there's links to all my music and other videos and professional things of that nature. That's AndyWoodMusic.com. Jump over there. As always, thanks for hanging out with me this week in the Woodshed. We'll see you real soon.